Hey guys, so I am here with Alexis Frank. She is running for Congress to represent the 5th District of South Carolina. Alexis, how are you doing?
I am outstanding. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much. I'm really glad that you came on the show. So she has an election coming up very soon. Do you want to tell them when that is?
So our primary is May 2nd, so that's next Tuesday. So about, 9 days now, 8 days, something like that.
It's coming up. So we've got to act fast. So when I found out about Alexis, I reached out to her campaign immediately because I wanted to have her on the show because I think that a lot of people need to know about you because you're very responsive. I noticed on Twitter when people have policy questions, you respond. And it's great. So do you want to just go ahead and introduce yourself to my viewers and let them know why you decided to run for Congress? And you are 26, everyone, so she's running at such a young age. Tell us about yourself, who you are, and why you decided to run.
So I'm Alexis Frank. I'm 26 years old. I graduated from Rock Hill High here in Rock Hill, South Carolina. I joined the Army when I was 17. I always promised my mom that she wouldn't have to pay for me to go to college. So when scholarships seemed a little bit more out there than we had hoped, I was like, okay, well, I'll join the Army. So I served 6 years as a paralegal in the JAG Court, which is a pretty prestigious honor to have at 17 years old. So half of what I did there was legal assistance, where we made sure that soldiers, their personal lives were taken care of on a regular basis, powers of attorney, wills, so that way they were always mission ready, especially when they deployed. We also prosecuted soldiers who obviously weren't doing the right thing, making sure that other soldiers knew that this is what happens when you think the rules don't apply to you. So that was what I did. I served, I went over to Korea for a little while, and I also did some time in Germany as well. I'm married to an active duty Marine. We met while I was in the military. He's been in 7 years, and he's a helicopter mechanic, and he's stationed at Camp Lejeune, North Carolina. We've got 2 kids, Avery, who's 3, and Eliza, who is going to be 9 months old this weekend. And I have I like to say 2.5 degrees. So I have an associate's degree in office management, a bachelor's degree in justice studies, and a project management graduate certificate.
All right. So, okay, I've got to ask the question. So you're a veteran. Your husband is still active duty. You've got 2 kids. That's a lot of work. So what made you want to get involved in politics?
Dare I say it, Donald J. Trump really changed a lot of things for people. I always said, I'm not political. I don't like office politics. I don't like being politically correct. But I started to realize that it's not about politics. It's about issues that affect us on a day-to-day basis. And I was getting increasingly disturbed by what people were offering as, laws and things that would affect us on a day-to-day basis. I just couldn't handle it. So after he won, I kind of broke down and cried, and I wondered to myself what kind of world we would be providing for our kids, especially my daughter was so young at the time. She was only 3 months old. So I was like, I'm not comfortable with this. So I did the Women's March on Washington. I brought her with me. She was in her little carrier. It was an amazing time and an amazing event to be a part of, such a vast movement, to really have, the president hear us when we say that we will not be moved on these issues, and we will not be pushed to the side and act like we're not, equal to everyone else. So came back, empowered, fired up, saw a video that was really trying to empower women to run and to really put themselves out there. And I knew that Mick Mulvaney seat was available. So I said, why not me? And it was important that I do this. It was more of a tugging at my heart and a feeling that it was something that I needed to do. And it's not difficult, or it's not easy for my family at all, but it's worth it for what we're doing and what we can provide for people.
Right. That's great. And, your story is becoming increasingly similar to other people and what I hear, and, as to why they're running for Congress, because, there's just so much issues. It doesn't matter if you don't have political experience. What matters is if you're willing to be a voice for the people. And I think that someone who is an outsider like you can represent us more than anyone, because you're not in Washington, you're not in that bubble. So let me ask you this question, because this is really important. So there is a bill in Congress currently, it's HR 676. It's known as the Expanded and Improved Medicare for All Act. Now, what this would do is it would take Medicare and it would expand it to everyone in the United States. So we have been calling every congressman and woman, making sure they sponsor this bill. So if you are elected, can you promise all of my viewers on day one you will co-sponsor HR 676?
So what I will say is especially as I live in a safely red district, I support Medicare for all. I know that it's something that we do need. However, I think especially for our district, it's not something that we can implement overnight. There's a lot of pushback that we received from Obamacare that we're still dealing with, especially in a safely red district like District 5. So in order for us to grab those people and bring them along with us on this journey that they might be apprehensive towards, I think we maybe sort of need to ease into it. I will absolutely sponsor a bill like that, but I also want to make sure that I'm doing what's right by the people in my district. And so many people in my district are apprehensive to it right here, right now. So we want to make sure that we're nurturing them towards that direction. But ultimately, I do want to see our country do go towards a Medicare for all stance. But I have to, my main concern, obviously, and it's not to be ignorant to obviously the whole country, but from my district, a lot of backlash. The reason why we lost John Spratt as our last Democratic congressman here was because he supported Obamacare and the Tea Party uprising. That's what dragged all of that down, and that's how we lost him here as our representative. So understanding that is the key here for making sure that we don't keep continuing to lose this seat to a Republican. So, like I said, I fully support it, but being mindful of the people in my district, we're going to have to ease them into it.
So how do you plan to do that? Because I think that for me, this is an issue that for progressives, it's non-negotiable. So how, because I think that what you've seen, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the town hall that Bernie Sanders had in West Virginia, where he talked with Trump voters and he just explained it to them. So how do you plan to talk with constituents who are typically conservative to get them to support this bill, to let them know that this is in their interest and, not the interest of the private insurance company who's ripping them off? I mean, what type of conversations do you think you'll be having?
So a lot of what we have to do is education. So a big portion of it goes back to, especially when I'm dealing with the other Republican candidates, they blast such false information at these people, at these constituents, and they just lap it up because they think, oh, well, they said Christian conservative values, so that automatically means that they have my best interests at heart, and that Democrats just want to, take everything and give everything for free, and nobody understands how to pay for anything and anything like that. But it's important that we educate them on, listen, this is not about taking, money or giving anything for free. This is about going to the doctor and not having to pay for it. Because I've had that luxury at being in the military and in being a spouse, not having to pay for those things. And I don't see anything wrong with having government health care. I quite enjoy it. But we have their best interests at heart. And so we need to let them know that we're supporting what we feel is the most important thing for them. And that's making sure, because they complained about, oh, well, Obamacare cost me a lot of money. We're trying to make it so that you're not paying any additional money out of your pocket. You're paying your regular taxes. And you can go to the doctor and not have to worry about whether or not your prescription is going to be $50 because your insurance company decided to either not cover it or the pharmaceutical company decided to hike up the rate or anything like that. But a lot of people are afraid, especially this is the South. Okay, so we're in the South, we're a lot more afraid of change. Down here, there's still people who think that the Confederate flag should be flown over the State House. So, and we are hundreds of years past removed from that. So if we want to make progress in the South, it's got to be gradual. Because if we do it overnight, there will be a lot of backlash. We'll see a backlash here against stuff like that we've shown with regard to Donald Trump. So, but ultimately, it's about having those conversations, having that education. I've been in front of predominantly Republican crowds in a lot of these forums, and people have come to me and said, you're being reasonable. You're not asking too much, but it's about taking the time to listen. And a lot of people aren't doing that. So we have to go to where they are and really preach to them and say, listen, this is really what we're trying to do. It's not bad. It's not a dirty word or anything like that.
We're kind of in a political climate where people on the left are divided. You have the Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton wings of the party. Do you feel as though you fall into one of those wings? And if so, which one?
So actually, I don't. So when it comes to Bernie, whether you agree with his politics or not, you know that he is for the people. He is out there pounding the pavement, truly believes is best. And when we're talking about Hillary, we want to emulate how she was a woman and how she was strong and how she fought through all of that adversity to get to where she was. I want to emulate both of them, but we need to move past 2016 and past that election. There's so many things, especially as a Democratic Party, that we have to learn from these mistakes. And I think that part of those mistakes that we made was following the playbook. And me as a candidate, I immediately break all the rules of that playbook. I want the strongest asset that I have to offer the people of this district, especially, is that I can relate to them on a one-on-one basis, that I can speak to them, that they understand, that they feel, that I can empathize with them. And that's so important, once again, especially in the South, because we're all about family and love and honey, come to the cookout and all that kind of stuff down here. But it's important that we build those relationships and people feel like they're being heard and feel like they're being cared about. And sometimes the way that we've done it politically in the past, it's not going to work here. But if we're going to move forward, we can't keep talking about, oh, well, Bernie could have won or Hillary could have won. If we're going to continue to harp on that, we're not going to take back the White House. We're not going to take back we're not going to take back the House in 2018. We have to move forward past that. And while I want to emulate a little bit of both of those politicians, I aim to be my own person that's not bringing politics to Washington, but bringing real people and real values and real issues there with me.
Sure, I can totally respect that, because I think that, right now there is a lot of divisiveness on the left. There's a lot of people who are exiting the Democratic Party because they just feel like they don't represent them. But one thing that I will say that's really, really important, because if you don't think that you feel as though you can pick a side between Bernie and Hillary, that's totally. I respect that, because I think that it's more than the politics. Like you said, it's about the policy, huge difference. But one of the things, myself included, that made it so that way we just could not support Hillary Clinton was the way that she fundraised her campaign. She accepted large contributions from Wall Street, from multinational corporations. She took money from the Clinton Foundation, from human rights abusers, Saudi Arabia and whatnot. So my question to you is, as someone who is a grassroots candidate, how are you raising money? I mean, are you taking money from corporations, or have you pledged to not have a super PAC and just raise money from the people?
So we have our average donation, I think now it's $34. We are a people-powered machine. Great. We have answered questionnaires. I've picked and choose which questionnaires I answer, because I'm not willing to sacrifice the people of this district for money that comes with an agenda. The biggest part, and people, the other, Democratic candidates, they like to say, oh, well, one of the bigger ones says, oh, we out fundraised everyone. Well, that's all well and good, but I'm reaching the people. So it's not, once again, it's not about corporations that come, because when you get money from them, they're expecting you to push their agendas as well. And once you start doing that, you stop forgetting about the people that you represent wholeheartedly. We have not been approached with that kind of money, although I'm certain when I secure the nomination that it will come. But ultimately, it's about making sure that we're not sacrificing the views and the wants and the constituency service that we're promising to these people and listening to them. I will say I would love if we would continue to have that outpouring of donations come to us, because it feels so good. We're handwriting thank you notes. And we're calling people one-on-one and saying, thank you so much for donating to us. And that's empowering people too, because it's not just about me doing all the work, but it's about empowering those who have given to us as well. I'm quite discouraged by those who choose to sacrifice their morals and their values and their constituents for the sake of having more money to run their campaign on. And I'm hoping that when we secure the nomination, we can prove that you can get past the primary without having a lot of money and without having all of that with you, as long as you're doing what's right by your citizens.
So you don't have a super PAC or anything? This is just purely people power. Good. Okay, and don't
check my FEC stuff if you need to.
No, that's good. And we're seeing that a lot of House of Representative campaigns, they're not having super PACs unless you're like the big dogs. You're the establishment candidate. Like Estes, who just ran against James Thompson recently. Had the big dogs on the Republican Party coming for him to support him. Let me ask you this: have you received much support from the DNC or the DCCC? How has the National Party kind of reacted to your campaign, and have they offered you any support?
Since we're still in the primary, the party cannot endorse any candidate. That is the official stance that they have taken. And that's perfectly okay with me. I know I kind of upset the fruit basket here. I'm not the typical Democratic choice. And we saw that with James Thompson. It's another reason why he reached out to our campaign and, retweeted that we needed that support, because we are looking to, we have like-minded views that we are looking to change the party up. And not go with the typical candidates that they have. So no, we haven't received the state party. When I filed, they were helpful in that they recommended some people that could help me with my financing and gave me some steps on how to proceed. But other than that, they've played an even playing field to be fair to all of the candidates. However, we do expect to have their full support after we secure the nomination. However, if they choose not to support us, we will march on as well, because once again, it's about the people. It's not about who's going to support us from the party or not.
Right. So now you are, like you said, you are currently, you're going to be going through a primary here on May 2nd. Can you tell us about your Democratic opponent right now and who this individual is and why you think you're the better candidate?
So we have two. So Archie Parnell would be probably considered the Democratic Party's choice. Before I approached, they said that they were looking to not have a primary, but I feel that it undermines our democratic process not to give people a choice to choose which candidate they would want.
Right.
He's an older white male. He worked in the Justice Department on the Ways and Means Committee, and then he's also worked for larger corporations like Goldman Sachs and ExxonMobil for a good portion of his life. He's a tax attorney, and as he's a good man. He means well. He has tried hard in his lifetime. I believe that I excel above him in the fact that I can relate to people. I cover a more broad spectrum of issues where his main issue topics are just tax reform and prescription drug prices, as where I care about education, healthcare, jobs, LGBTQ, veterans, all of those issues I've spoken in great depth about, as I feel that we can't get that depth out of him. Les Murphy is the other Democratic candidate. He is a Marine Corps veteran of 8 years, and he runs a nonprofit that allows veterans to get their disability benefits from the VA, because we do have a lot of veterans that suffer from that. He's also a good man, although I firmly believe that we should continue to promote his stuff within the Department of Veterans Affairs. I believe that is the best place for him, because we so need people with that expertise to help him with that. And so I don't feel myself above any of these other two candidates. I just feel that I can represent the people of this district, the diversity of this district, a lot better than they can.
So you're kind of like the more well-rounded candidate in terms of you can represent people on a broader range of issues. That's okay. And see, you could just tell though, like with the way that you speak about your opponents, like you are incredibly nice. Like honestly, congratulations. That's very because when I have people on here, they are willing to rip their opponent to shreds on here. That's nice to see that dynamic, honestly. Okay, so let me ask you this, because a lot of my viewers, they're very progressive. They're worried about policy. So if you can tell my viewers the three main things that you think you could probably prioritize, because I know that you care about a ton of issues.
So our biggest, and this is coming from the people, when we go around the district and I go door to door canvassing, and I'm in more socioeconomic, leveled out, these diverse areas like York County, and then I'm going into more rural, predominantly Black counties like Lee County. I'm asking everyone that I meet, what's the most important thing to you? And the consistent number one answer that I'm getting is education. And that's huge for me, because our children's education is so important. And as a mother, I have a vested interest in our children's education, because my children need to get one. With South Carolinians in particular, we are last in the nation when it comes to education. Our schools need so much more. We have too many parents and students flocking to certain school districts, and we're neglecting our more rural county schools. And we need to make sure that all of those students, are getting the top quality education that they can. So from a federal level, we want to make sure three things. One, that our students, our funding is there, so that all of our students, especially, in those rural counties, are getting that education. So there's a bill currently on the floor, I think in the Education and Workforce Committee, that we would sponsor, that gives rural communities and minority communities priority when it comes to STEM programs and access to programs that would put more minorities into those positions and people in rural counties into those positions. So that's the other first thing. We also want to go on to the Affordable College Act. We want to make sure that all the states are providing a way for college to be affordable for our students. And I know that there's two, and it's funny because when you read the bill that Bernie had put out, and when people are like, oh, it's free college, it's really not. If you read the whole bill, it's about making it more affordable for students, and what part of the tuition that universities would be responsible after expected family contributions and scholarships and things like that. And that is an extremely reasonable plan. It's actually going quite well with Republicans in this area. So when we're talking about progressing forward, it is major. So I presented a plan for affordable college specifically for South Carolinians. But we definitely want to put our name to that bill as well, because that is so huge. And then also making sure that, especially in this district, we have a lot of blue collar jobs, a lot of manufacturing, a lot of welding, a lot of trades like that don't necessarily require college, but still need to be filled. So we also want to sponsor a bill that's on the floor as well that would include farm workers as public service workers to have their student loans forgiven, their federal student loans forgiven, because they would be considered public service workers. So education as a whole is a huge thing, because education is a right. It's not a privilege. And even sometimes when I say that it is a privilege that we have the opportunity to learn as Americans that some other countries don't have, but it is not for the privileged.
Right. Right. And I think that's a good distinction to make, because, what you hear generally is that, everyone has access to an education, but that doesn't translate into actually being able to get an education, especially when you talked about, you're talking to people in rural community, disadvantaged communities and whatnot. We all have access to everything we could dream of, but that doesn't mean we can get it. So that's really encouraging to hear that, education will certainly be a priority. So can you, just kind of make your pitch to my viewers, and also if you could tell us where to find more information about you, how do we support your campaign? Can we canvass for you, phone bank? Just give us, kind of the whole overview.
Absolutely. So I really do want to thank you so much for having me on your show. It means the world to me that so many people are acknowledging what it is that we're trying to do for the people here in District 5, especially on a financial level. A lot of the funding that we're receiving is national. It's important to me that we really educate and let people know that, this is not as scary of a world as you think it is. What we're trying to offer people when it comes to affordable college and Medicare for all is not as bad as it may seem. And if you just take the time to listen, we can provide all of those answers for you without making it seem like your world is going to go up in flames. And that's huge for us. And I also appreciate the patience with a lot of progressives that say, hey, we need this now, but also understanding the patience level that it will take for slower up on the start districts like mine that are really lagging and saying we don't want this, and acknowledging that, oh Lord, we are doing the best that we can to make sure that these people understand, so we're not dealing with all of that backlash. For me, this was a calling, this was a tug at my heart that I had to do this, that I had to be here for the people of this district. So the best way that you can help, especially because we only have about a week left, you can visit our website at frank4congress.com. We have a volunteer tab for people who, want to come out and canvass door to door with us, because we will be door to door every day and even on election day, we will make sure that people are getting to the polls. You can phone bank for us. We have virtual phone banking set up. You can find that on our website as well. There's a whole tab. It's a 3-step process. It's super easy. I used it today to phone bank because it was raining here and the baby, and I didn't want to go outside. But you can phone bank for us, and that's really effective as well. We've stopped our postcard campaign because just for, mail and stuff like that, it kind of lags. And really just, like, share the Facebook page at Alexis Frank for Congress. We're also on Twitter at Frank4 Congress. And then I think our Instagram is Frank4 in Congress. And just telling your friends about what it is that we're doing, the waves that we're trying to make, encouraging more young people to get involved, get out from behind your computer screens. Don't just be Twitter warriors. Don't just be Facebook warriors. If you want change, go be it. Go do it. It's hard, but the hardest road is often the most rewarding one. So just go out there, and it's hard to put yourself out there, but if you really want those changes, just go be them. Just go be them. So we really appreciate all of the encouragement that we have received. And we just look forward to everyone continuing to really pump us up, because we really need that motivation, especially at the end here. And don't forget, if you do live in District 5, vote May 2nd. It's so important to get out there and have your voice heard, because that's the most effective way to have your voice heard. Don't send that Facebook post. Go vote.
Well, hey, and let me just say this too. Again, I want to remind people, Alexis Frank, 26 years old, 2 kids, active duty husband. There's no excuse for anyone. No. You're running for Congress, and I don't know how you do it. But it's amazing. Like, I don't know if you guys saw the ad. She has an ad with her baby on her side, and I think it's probably the best ad I've ever seen, because how do you not win someone over if you have an adorable little baby on your side? You can't not win them over.
That wasn't even for props. Like, she was legitimately fussy that day, and she was like, "I just want my mom," and I was like, "We're shooting with her on my side. It's totally fine." And then there was another one where she was falling asleep, and I was like, "We're not going to wake her up. We're going to shoot." So we're telling people how they can volunteer, and I'm literally rocking her, because I was like, you have to mom it. Moms, we get stuff done.
You know what, though? People love that so much, because you are an organic person. You're not a rehearsed politician. You're not going to go through and, check, well, what do the polls say about if I use this term instead of this term? You know what I mean? Like, you're just real. And I think that that's what we're desperate for in this country. We just want normal people to get in and represent us, and not the oligarchs. So look, hey, good luck. Thanks so much for coming on the show in such short notice. Really appreciate it, Alexis.
Thank you so much for having me. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you.
Support this podcast by joining the independent progressive media revolution today at humanistreport.com.